truth about porn. Scientists wanted to understand how a male rat is affected by novel female sexual partners. The original experiment placed a male rat in a large box with 4 female rats in heat. The male rat mated with all the female rats until he was exhausted. Despite being nudged and licked thereafter, he did not respond. However, when a novel female was placed in the box, his attention was renewed and he mated with her. The male rat will continue mating with novel females until completely physically exhausted. Dopamine has been found to be responsible for these observations. Dopamine provides motivation to go after something desirable. Thus, it is the drug of desire. So when someone clicks on a porn image, his brain is tricked into thinking this is a potential mate he must pursue. The brain releases enormous amounts of dopamine. Each click of a new image or video causes a flood of dopamine to be released in the brain. This continues for as long as you click, making it a dopamine binge. The brain is overloaded and can't keep up with the dopamine binge, so it has to do something to return to homeostasis. An analogy can be made with a phone conversation. Let's say a friend you were talking to on the phone suddenly started screaming. You would lower the volume to a more pleasant level. But if your friend went back to speaking normally, you wouldn't be able to hear him with the volume turned down. A similar phenomenon takes place in the brain. The brain synapses don't like being overstimulated with dopamine, so they respond by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. Fewer dopamine receptors allow the brain to cope with the high levels of dopamine. But once the binge is over, the person feels depleted. It is a vicious cycle because the feeling of depletion causes the person to want to view more porn. This destroys more dopamine receptors. This makes him feel even more depleted, and the cycle continues. Over time, because a person's dopamine receptors are being destroyed, more and more porn and variety is required for the same amount of stimulation. Overstimulation by dopamine and the consequent destruction of dopamine receptors are responsible for little dopamine being left for ordinary life. Signs of low dopamine are feeling bored or lazy, lack of focus, restlessness, anxiety or depression, and lack of motivation.